Mike Morrell, former acting head of the CIA, decided to throw Tony Blinken under the bus. Now, why would he throw Tony Blinken under the bus? This is pretty damning stuff that Blinken asked him to get involved with 50 other high-level intelligence and security officials to make sure that the Biden mess before the election was suppressed. And we know that the New York Post was kicked off Twitter, for God's sake. There were all kinds of people in Twitter to make sure that Joe Biden won this election and didn't have to answer questions about his wayward son. I have nothing against prodigal sons, but that was really damning. I mean, Morrell is a slippery character. That letter, I know some of the guys on that list, and they get sucked into this stuff so that they can continue to have lunch with Condi Rice, so they can continue to have really big salaries at prestigious institutes like Stanford. They can't say no. They can't say no to the fraternity. And this is really, really sad. There was one guy that stood up this way, and that is David Kay. Do you remember David Kay?
I do remember David Kay.
He was hired by George Tenet to find those weapons of mass destruction that weren't there, right? Okay.
Right.
They spent $1 billion and killed a lot of American Marines and Army guys looking for those, what they knew were non-existent weapons of mass destruction. When he finally came back, he said, look, I was deceived. I thought there had to be weapons of mass. Look at all the people that were saying there were. There weren't any. Now, when he was asked to explain how it could be so frank, he said, look, I know about Vietnam. I know what people did just so that they could preserve a seat at the luncheon table with high dignitaries. I don't want any part of that. This was a fraud. George Tenet, when I came back and I told him that, he said, he put me in this little thing without a computer. I'm out of here. This is the truth. There never were WMD, and they knew it from the outset. Wow. Now, there are very few people like that, and that's what I'm saying. All 51 of these people succumb to this blandishment that, you really have to stay part of the system to keep your job.